Welcome to the Been There, Done That podcast with Angela Dunn-Cartledge. Hey there, it's Angela from Been There, Done That. If you're navigating the wild, unpredictable world of grief, I want to invite you to something special. It's called Messy Mornings, and it's our free weekly newsletter filled with real talk, gentle reminders, and support that actually meets you where you are. Each week, I'll send you stories, reflections, healing prompts straight to your inbox. No fluff, no pressure, just the space to release, feel, and heal. You don't have to do this alone. Head over to dunnthatpodcast.com and sign up for Messy Mornings. It's totally free and it's made with you in mind. I've been there, and let's walk through this together. Hi, everybody. This is the Been There, Done That podcast, and I'm your host, Angela Dunn-Cartledge. I'm here with my new good friend, Catherine DeMonte, and we are going to talk about grief, about mindset, about so many wonderful things, and I can't wait to have this great conversation. Catherine, thank you so very much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you about what you bring to the world. So, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about that and how you want to interact with them going forward? I wanted to really just ask you what your concept is of healing around these things like grief and trauma, and um, what what we can sometimes create as blockages that then get in the way of our manifestations. And I'm so thankful to hear you define it in that way because it's so much in line with the way I define our healing, but also define loss in general. We tend not to give enough space to what we would consider to be small losses or micro griefs or micro traumas, where we don't give ourselves that space. We think, well, we're supposed to just keep moving on, pull up our bootstraps kind of concept. Where is that places where um, I've seen the entire spectrum too, where there are people definitely in the middle where they're partly stuck, but they don't know why, or they're partly stuck and they do know why. I really appreciate that particular concept. In my particular story, I did not do a lot of work to acknowledge my grief. I thought that if I continued forward and especially with my fertility journey, that if I pushed, then I would get to where I wanted to be and I would be a mom again, and then I would be good to go. That I may be moving forward, but I'm carrying the weight of what happened along the way and the disappointments. Um, and so I really love your description of uh, hearing that in some other place, that usually is not something that we create all by ourselves, right? That we tend to hear that from another person, usually someone we consider to be an authority figure, and move through life that way. So what if we realize that we are stuck and we're well into the process of living? We're way past it in terms of the time frame of what we're talking about, right? But where do you start? Where do you sort of lead patients and clients to come to a place of more wholeness? Yes. They have to. Yes. Yeah. Wow. That that's incredibly powerful, right? Because we especially in our, um, you know, European descent, the places that most of us in America, tend to come from, uh, we we do the opposite. We're constantly looking for ways to ignore, numb, run from, flee as quickly as we can. To think that you could sit and not just process, but you're processing out loud over and over and over again. And really, I can't imagine how powerful and how painful that would be, but also how freeing it would be at the same time. It would be, um, I think that would be an incredibly powerful experience for sure. She must be really strong. She's so strong that she doesn't need to cry or she doesn't talk about it. Um, that is just a misnomer, right? That we end up in a position where that isn't actually true. It's just that they don't have a safe place to land. They don't have a safe place to go. Yeah. And that's all we have to really do. That's so real. I love that you described it that way because we tend to think about the struggle as the problem, but that's really right. That's not really the problem. The problem is I don't have anywhere to take this, and I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know what my life will look like without my person. I don't know what my life will look like without this relationship, without the fact that I was a mom and now I'm not a mom, or I want to be a mom and I can't be. Whatever those things are, whatever that loss looks like for you, it's a cool concept to be able to just say, I don't have to fix this. All I really need to be able to do is sit with you and be able to allow it. And I think where I want to go next, if you're okay with this, is how can we support each other and create more safe containers when we might be connected to the situation? So I'm going to use an example of a friend is getting a divorce, but the person that she is married to, I know them. So I feel as if I'm connected to the outcome of what is happening right now. But there's no turning back. They are that this is ending, this is severing, whatever verb we want to use. How do we sit in it with our own grief and allow someone else to have their grief as well? Love that because you don't have to, and I think that's a skill to not absorb, to not carry other people's pain, stories, whatever that looks like. And I know that in your work, you have to do that for yourself. And so I like that example of reflective instead of absorbent, that you're not that on, but you're saying, I'm here to listen, but it doesn't have anything to do with me. And uh, that's a really great way to keep ourselves from being defensive in situations and from allowing ourselves to feel overwhelmed by someone that has heavy emotions for a for any length of time, especially 30-minute coffee chat, but that, a real, true, grieving situation. So I really that. That's great. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to rescue. We don't have to do any of those things. Yeah. Yeah. And as you continue to practice it, of course, that that tends to go away some too. But I really I've always heard of active listening, but I like the concept of reflective as well, that of course you're listening to listen and not listen to respond, but you also are not um, you're not problem solving while you're listening. You're just saying, I just want to give you a safe place to talk. I just want you to know that I'm here. Those reiterating that, um, and giving them the opportunity to continue to talk. That's such a great lesson. I love that. It does. And I really struggle myself with ways to support people in their grief and in the different phases and in the different losses that we all experience. And what I'm finding too is that there's so much that is individual, but that the grief feeling is universal. It doesn't matter what our culture tells us about ourselves or about our society, or what our society tells us about who we are. None of those things matter, that it's a human experience. And so, and um, I'm even learning that it is more than just a human experience, that there's grief in nature and in animal species and all kinds of things that happen. So I think where I want to go next is just into that concept of how we can define what is happening to us so that we can process it, and be able to move through. And I don't like the phrase move on because I don't think that's accurate. I mean, we're different. Once we have this loss, we sort of jump to a new track and we're different people, um, as a result of the loss. And then the next time we have a loss, we do it again. And we just sort of something like that. But I really want to understand your concept and your thoughts on how can we define and speak that truth and then continue that process, whether it be with a friend, with ourselves, with a therapist, whatever those conversations might look like. This or this is my and I tend to not like this phrase either, but I'm gonna use it in this case. This is my new normal. This is my new reality. Um, I like new reality better than new normal because there's no such thing as normal. We think we think that we're trying to get to this place where there's this stasis. That doesn't really exist. We just get used to the things that are happening around us a little bit better, which it sometimes can be very destructive. So I really want to use new reality and sort of go into a place of how do we stay aware? How do we stay intentional and be able um, to move forward so that we can then speak into our abundance, speak into the manifestations that we desire, and be able to move into those new places with a little bit more ease. Saying it out loud and inside your body. Yeah, it is. I really have been spending a lot of time with my own internal dialogue and my own I love that. The I am statements brilliant. I can't wait to think about that and really put that into my own practice. But what I was thinking about when you said that was that I think, at least in my experience, it's very difficult when something is ingrained in your thought processes to see to recognize it and be aware of it and have that intention around it. And you have to really, the whole concept of meditating and being still and paying attention to what is zooming around inside your brain and heart. That I think we're scared of those moments. At least I have been, and that kind of holds us back from allowing those thoughts to come forward. Love the concept of being able to just isolate, listen for those 2 words. Listen for those 2 words and then listen all the way through that sentence. Pay attention to how does that sentence end, or how does that question end? Why am I always sick? Um, I feel like it has the same connotation to myself. Why is this happening to me? Why am I always? Why am I never? Um, but also, I am always and I am ever, or I should. To your point, ourselves, we do that all the time too. Uh, I should do blank. That those sort of are they're critical foundational thoughts. I really like that. So I'm that you brought that up, and even more thankful that it's in your book and that it is center in your book, because then we can then practically tackle what happens next, right? We create the list, or we think of the thing, and we can find the foundational thought and then go from there. So that's what I'm going to ask you next is what would it, in those cases where we identify those I am statements, or the I am questions, am I questions, what's next? What happens? And how, and I'm not trying to ask for spoilers from your book. I really want you toward the tools that are in the book, but I really think that's where I wanted to go next. Yeah. Grown-ups know everything, Catherine. All grown-ups are very smart. And you realize you are one too, and then you look around and go, nobody knows what they're doing. I thought that all the grown-ups knew what they were doing. What? They all seemed like they did. Anyway, I didn't.
It's true. What
Right.
came, as you said, it came out of their mouth, so they know everything.
They're the
So
authority.
I
Yeah.
think one of the steps in is to question why I have this belief. Um, like where did that come from? Why do I think all, like all blank do blank, like all women blank, all grown-ups blank, all kids, whatever it is, like questioning it. And then doing the same with ourselves. Like, where did I get that thought? Um, and let's say one of the thoughts is that I'm clumsy because somebody said that, and we might not have known that word the first time we heard it, but it was applied to us, and then we realize it's because because I tripped, so they say you're so clumsy, so I must be clumsy with a capital letter. It starts with a capital letter, as opposed to I tripped, but that becomes who we think we are. We will also end up doing more of that and being more aware of that when we trip or when we bump into things. And it never was true about us. We're a normal amount of clumsy, maybe. So questioning our thoughts and where they came from. And kind of to the same point, I would also remind people to please not make jokes about themselves. Like if they trip, just say something like, I'm so clumsy, or I'm so bad with money because I was behind this month on my, like, stop saying these things about yourself. You're stating it like it's a fact, like it's a truism about you. It can be a one-off or a sometimes thing. You're not always or never anything. None of us are. So to be gentle.
Except human. That's it.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just that we're human. That's the only thing else.
Yes.
We're always.
Yes.
But that's such a great reminder that we aren't always anything.
Yeah.
We aren't always sad. We aren't always happy. We aren't always busy. We aren't always overwhelmed. We aren't, wherever the word is that we can put in that blank.
Mm-hmm.
I've really tried to be intentional about how I answer the question, how are you doing?
Mm.
And that is where one of the places where I can see I am statements really taking over.
Mm.
Okay, I am fine. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm tired. That used to be my favorite one to say.
Mm.
Um, I'm I'm so busy. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
describe how
Yeah.
you're really doing. And that's not, like you just said, there's an implied always in those
Yes.
sentences. That
Yes.
I'm always busy. I'm
Yes.
always overwhelmed. And it's like in
Yeah.
parentheses, and you don't have to say it out loud. You're just saying it. And then you say it so often that you start to believe it.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
and I think we sort of touched on this earlier about moving through and how we move into a space where we're, instead of saying, I am so broke, what can we say instead?
This may feel like a stretch, but if what you were wanting is to be abundant, but you literally don't have any money in your bank account, instead of saying it and reiterating it and solidifying it that you don't have money, I would suggest saying what you want, even if you don't see it yet. So how, when you look at your bank statement, you say, I am abundant. I am wealthy. I have more than enough. My needs are always met. That you state it like it's here now, calling in what you want. Because to use those other words like overwhelmed or busy, same with broke. If we say it, broke, abundant, broke, overwhelmed, and tired will come find you. They will make sure that you embody it.
Yes, that reminds me of asking for patience.
Oh,
When we pray for patience, we tend to get more patient, more problem, things that we have to grow into patience through. Realize that there's not just this magical, stork that drops a bundle on your front step that is now patience, and then you
oh,
just
how
pick it up
right.
and put it on your body, and now you're patient.
Mm,
We kind of do have to work through those things, but I really
yes.
like what you're saying there, in that you aren't saying, I have $10 million in my checking account. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying is, I am not going to operate in the mindset that I am not worthy. I'm not going to operate in this mindset of, I am not okay in this
Mm-hmm.
moment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I am okay in this moment. And if I give myself a chance, the next moment, you don't know what's coming. We never know what's coming. And in the case of loss, I can see that, especially in an acute loss situation where someone has just lost their person, they've just lost their job, they just found out that they're not going to be married for very long, much longer, whatever that particular situation is, that doesn't mean that they aren't loved, that they aren't important, that they aren't worthy, that they aren't uh, growing. There's so many things that that can be focused on instead. And I, from my own personal experience, as I'm sure is yours, you can do that a little bit at a time, and you can grow in that. And it's time. It's not something that happens overnight. How what is the most practical thing that you can offer to the audience that they can take away from this discussion, but also something that they can learn from you going forward, that we can sort of manifest right now, something that we can start to work on as soon as we finish listening to this episode?
Mm-hmm. I have two thoughts. One would be to first say to the piece about where we find ourselves. Like somebody, I just lost my person, I just lost my job. I would start by honoring the feeling, because I think that's really important rather than pushing it down. Like, I'm so sad about this. I'm so devastated by that. I'm crushed by, and it's okay to feel the big feels. We're supposed to. It's part of our journey. But then the second part to that would be to not, it doesn't define the person I am. I'm not a loser because my person left. I'm not, to really watch your I ams about it, but to allow the big feelings and still be kind to and about yourself, especially then because you're already hurting. So it'd be really, really vital. And so, and I think the the practical step would be to be mindful, that really mindful of your I ams, and putting out what it is you do want, whether even if you're not there with the I am statement, and also seeing it and feeling it. I like how Einstein said energy is energy, and that's all there is to it, because he knew that like energy attracts like energy. So if we're wanting to find peace again, if we meditated and felt peace in that moment, in the moment that we're meditating, but then try to keep that level of peace up, or if we're feeling joy to keep, or if we're needing to step into joy, that we try it on and feel joy and then try to resonate from joy as much as possible. If we're wanting to attract love, that we are as loving as possible and watch our language. We even would omit the word hate from our vocabulary, even if it's I hate broccoli, that we don't use. And even if it's true that you hate it.
I hate broccoli, Catherine. I mean, it's so good. I'm just kidding. Go.
How could people even hate it, right?
Right. I love that. I feel like what we are trying to do is to be better to ourselves so that we can be better to each other. And some people try to be better to each other so that they can be better to themselves. But I think that your concepts are so they're I want to use a cliched phrase, and I'm sorry that it's so cliched, but that it's simple, not easy. That what you're saying is so it's very much aha moments for me, listening to you describe them, and yet I'm thinking, why did that take this wonderful person to come on my show to tell us that? We should know that. But that isn't how our brains work. We go with what we've heard, what we've been conditioned to know. And so it is really wonderful to hear you describe it in such a simple and empowering way. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. How can we, as an audience, get in touch with Catherine, and how can we find your book?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. I can be reached at Gmail at catherinedemonte@gmail.com, or on my website, which is catherinedemonte.com. My book is on Amazon and in stores. There's also a journal that goes with it, a journal that also called Beep Beep, Get Out of My Way. And my phone number is area code 818-880-6559. And those are the ways to reach me and to get my book.
That's perfect. And then from your website, can people schedule Reiki healing sessions and those kinds of things? And obviously, you're a therapist, but in California, so they would need to be in California for that to work, right?
Right.
But the book is available to the entire world.
Yes.
As is the healing sessions. So, yeah, it sounds like a perfect way to work with you.
Yes, thank you. And I do coaching for people that are outside of California, but you're so right that with the license I have to see psychotherapy clients only in California where I'm licensed, but I can do coaching outside of that. And all of that information is on my site, and the Reiki as well. I can do all over the world.
Perfect. Yeah. I can't say thank you enough for these simple, practical ideas that we can incorporate into our world immediately. And I know that people are going to want to do more, because if this is where we're starting, you've given us all confidence that we can keep going. So thank you so much for all of that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. My absolute pleasure. You're so easy to speak with and talk to, and I loved your questions, and I love your energy. Thank you for what you do.
Hey, thank you.
My pleasure.